2023 is behind us, and before we dive forward and look into 2024, I want to share the 5 tools that were the most productive for us last year because we're going to build on them next year, and I don't want you to miss out. So let's dive right in. Let's talk about the 3 technologies that last year I said we would pay attention to and what we've seen happen since then. Last year, those technologies were 1, APIs, 2, AI, and 3, automation. Last year, ChatGPT had just come on the market, and it was very clear very quickly that this was going to be a transformative technology. Now, from our perspective, we had also already been paying attention to APIs and automation, and what AI did was really take that to the next level. If you want a recap of what I said last year and a brief description of what these technologies are, I encourage you to watch the video that I put out earlier this year, which we'll link to somewhere here on the screen. Over the course of the past year, as we've really dove into these technologies, nearly every one of our relevant metrics has grown by more than 200%. And frankly, they're still growing. It's been a non-linear growth curve as we've been implementing each of these technologies because these kinds of technologies compound. But more importantly than what this has done for us is what this has done for our customers. What we've seen for customers whom we've started to help with process automation and particularly AI integrations has been just astounding in terms of the return on time and money that they get by using these technologies. For example, we had one customer that we implemented a fairly complex workflow for that used to take him 6 or 8 or 9 hours of manual labor from him or his team every single day. The first time we ran this job, it was completed in 3 minutes, and we set it up so that it would be incrementally running for him. And now the incremental runs happen in, 3 to 4 seconds. A long one takes 30 seconds. Tremendously transformative because we've been able to use APIs and automation to integrate these different technologies that before he was having to go over here and get this information, put it over here, enter this information over here, go over here, update that. And this one doesn't even include AI. This was just pure API integration across multiple technologies. Tremendous value for him, and he's not alone in that story. This is the point that I want to stress because oftentimes people think that because we're a technology-enabled company, that maybe some of these things are only for us as technologists. But the reality is these kinds of technologies that I talked about last year and that I'll talk about for the future are really relevant for any business that has data to manage and customers to satisfy. And in the 21st century, that's pretty much all of us. But of all the technologies that we used in the past year, what I want to do is share the 5 workhorses that we found we got the most value out of so that you can look at them and see if maybe they're valuable for you as well. The first technology is a technology called Baserow. Now, if you're familiar with Airtable, this is an open source version of Airtable. And what this is essentially a online database that you can use to store any type of information. And what's great is it's better than using Google Sheets or some other spreadsheet where you don't know where's this spreadsheet, where's that spreadsheet. It can be very hard to find them. People edit them, and you don't, and they can break. What this does is it allows for a non-developer to go in and start creating ways to store information in structured formats that can then be very easily used to implement and integrate with any other kind of API. For us, for instance, one of the many uses that we use this for is our content repository, so that our marketers don't have to go around trying to figure out where this is or where that is or what we've published on or what we haven't published on, what lead magnets exist, what resources. All of these things take a lot of time just trying to find things. This intelligently allows us to create different databases where we can track different kinds of information, filter, sort, and it's flexible as we need it to be. Now, what I'm sharing here is just some simple marketing things that we're using it for, but we also use it for performance evaluations and for financial planning and backlogs and budgeting and all sorts of things that we know we want to have tracked in some way where we really just need a consistent repository to store information for everybody to have access to that needs it. Importantly, it's extremely easy to use, and the adoption has been very, very fast, which is often one of the biggest hurdles to any kind of technology, using any kind of new technology. The next technology that we've used a lot and will continue to use even more in the future is Assembly AI. Assembly AI is a great API-driven tool that allows you to take voice data and turn it into transcriptions, SRT files for closed captions. It'll automatically generate chapters, which we can then use for YouTube or something else. It is a tremendously powerful tool for getting voice data into text. Why is this important? Because so often the biggest hurdle to information sharing is the input. It's the interface. It's having to type things out, right? We hear it all the time. People don't update their CRMs because it's a hassle to go and type things in and remember that they need to do it. I have a meeting with somebody and I forget to, record my notes, or I take scribble notes and I have to remember what exactly did I say and I have to translate that. One of the biggest hurdles to knowledge transfer is the interface between my brain to storage for your brain to perceive. Well, if all I have to do is talk and it generates that transcript, it is way more productive than having to talk, record, remember, translate, and then share in some way that you're gonna remember. More importantly, I can then take these transcripts and run them through things like OpenAI for formatting, or run them through OpenAI to make summaries or blog posts or any number of other things. Changing the interface from text to voice has been a game changer for us, and I imagine it'll be a game changer for you too if you're not doing it already. Now, a legitimate question is, well, why not just use a tool like Otter AI? And the reality is that we could, but again, we like things where we have control over the infrastructure. Otter itself can start to get very expensive on a per user basis, and then also based on the number of minutes that you might use. It also doesn't integrate with other tools, and very often what we're trying to do is take data from one place and put it in another. I don't necessarily want to take my Otter recording and then copy and paste that into I don't necessarily want to take my auto recording and then have to copy all of that text manually, which, by the way, doesn't copy very easily currently. That might change in the future, and then figure out where to store it. In this case, if I already know where I want the data to go, I can go ahead and upload an audio file. Assembly AI automatically does all of the transcription in the background and then automatically puts it in a different place based on the workflows that we've already created. The next tool we used a lot this year was ChatGPT+. I've done several videos on this, so I'm going to skip over this one at this point. But in addition to ChatGPT+, is OpenAI's API. So OpenAI has its own API that allows for you to do a lot of things that you would otherwise have to sit inside of ChatGPT doing manually. You can send, for instance, prompts directly to OpenAI, transcripts directly to OpenAI, all of this via an API so that somebody isn't sitting there manually entering all this stuff in. Data can get sent from one source via an API to OpenAI, where a prompt or several prompts in some cases might be waiting for that data and can automatically start processing in the background things that we might otherwise be sitting there in front of ChatGPT doing ourselves. For example, we have a workflow here where I'll make an audio recording about a product that we need to take to market or how we ought to prepare it to take to market. And we send that into Google Drive, where it then goes to OpenAI. In this case, we're using Whisper, not Assembly AI, but we're using Whisper in order to take that audio file, generate a transcript, send it back into OpenAI to format that transcript into a particular template that we want, then take that formatted template and then send it into a spreadsheet, as well as send it into our knowledge base. Again, if I were to do this with ChatGPT, first of all, I would have to figure out how to get the transcript in the first place. So let's just imagine I did that with Assembly AI. Then I'd have to go into ChatGPT, upload the transcript, write my prompt, and do that every single time that I want to that I want to generate that particular type of content, which we do often. And then have to figure out how to take it out of ChatGPT, or maybe have ChatGPT say, hey, can you turn this into a CSV? And then I have to manually copy and paste it into Google Sheets. While it's more efficient than sitting down with a blank Google Doc and typing it all out, it's still not nearly as efficient as me opening up my voice notes, recording a summary, hitting save into a Google Drive folder, and then knowing that all of this is happening in the background. And so, for example, I had 20 minutes to kill at a Starbucks one day, and I was able to fire off 10 of these different drafts very quickly. And by the time I was back in the office, everything was in the spreadsheet it needed to be, the knowledge base it needed to be, and was already done. I didn't have to go into ChatGPT to do anything. I just sat there recording audio on my phone. While Base Row, Assembly AI, ChatGPT Plus, and OpenAI's API were tremendous workhorses, by far the biggest workhorse was our workflow automation tool called N8N. N8N supports hundreds of integrations with hundreds of tools that allow for you to move data from one place to another, transform data from one format to another, and build complex workflows that allow for you to take things that you might spend a lot of time doing manually and chain or automate those processes into really complex logic that allows you to take some of your most complex or difficult business processes and automate them 100%. It's probably the closest thing you can get to coding without actually coding. And if you're familiar with tools like Zapier or If This Then That, it's very, very similar. But being open source, you can have your own instance where you aren't paying based on the number of transactions you're running. You're not paying on a per user basis. You own your own instance, and you can set up as many workflows with as many different runs as you need. So you're never really worried about the rate limiting that comes with your process automation. You spend quite a bit of time engineering the process, but once you've got the process and you let it run, you aren't worried about incurring additional costs just because you're running the process in the background. And this model with decreasing marginal costs combined with the breadth of integrations that are available, and anything that has an API can be integrated with N8N, has made this by far the most productive investment that we've made this year in technology. Now, while these were the most productive technologies we used this year based on my thinking about APIs, AI, and automation, there was actually one other technology that didn't really fit into those buckets that ended up being probably almost as productive as N8N, and that is our knowledge base. Earlier this year, we were dealing with some staff turnover, and I was realizing that when one person left, we lost a lot of knowledge and experience. And so we made an investment in a discourse-based, knowledge-based, which allows for us and anyone on the team to create and share articles about the things that they're learning. And it's becoming an expectation that when we learn things or solve a complex problem, that it needs to get into the knowledge base. This has made knowledge distribution so much more efficient. And we have found ourselves in situations now where developer A might have a question about something that developer B dealt with 6 or 8 weeks ago, or even 6 or 8 months ago, that they can now go and find an answer to, allowing for that knowledge to be shared, and in some cases, even with yourself in the future. It's a tremendously valuable tool for anybody that has to manage knowledge in their organization. And for most anybody today, that is the asset. It's the information in our heads that we can do something with. Now, I said it doesn't really fit into our AI API automation framework, but we do actually have a fair number of integrations where voice recordings from Assembly AI or Whisper do then make their way into the knowledge base, because again, we're really trying to reduce the obstacles to knowledge sharing, and oftentimes voice to text to knowledge base is a really, really productive way to make sure we're getting things out of my head or out of our team members' heads and into the knowledge base so that it can be shared with others both now and in the future. And there you have it, the 5.5 most productive tools that we used in 2023 and that we'll be building on in 2024. So if your business is one where you've got a bunch of different integrations, or you're not even sure what integrations are possible, I encourage you to reach out to me or someone on my team. We'd be happy to talk with you a little bit about your business processes and help you find the most efficient ways to be able to get more done with less effort and less time. If you found this helpful, I encourage you to hit subscribe, because very shortly I'll be releasing the technologies I'll be watching for 2024, and I imagine that they'll be just as big, if not bigger. So thank you again for your time, and we'll see you on the next one.